Am I the asshole for screwing up my brother's adoption on purpose? My brother, 32 male, and his wife, 34 female, have fertility issues and chose adoption. Our family is very wealthy, so they went the route of finding mothers directly. The way my brother describes it, they are trading support during the pregnancy for the baby at the end. They found a very sweet woman, Sarah, 19 female, who is very poor. Sister-in-law messaged her from a post Sarah made on a Buy Nothing group asking for prenatal vitamins. After several meetups, Sarah agreed that she has very few options. She signed paperwork that allows my brother and sister-in-law to pay for and attend her appointments throughout the pregnancy. Another form of support they offered her was talking to me because I went through a teen pregnancy at 17. I'm now 24 and my son is 7. When I first met her, she was amazed that I had managed to keep my son. We've continued to meet up over the last 3 months and have gotten close. About 2 weeks ago, I was hanging out with Sarah after one of her appointments. She was quiet and sad. After some prompting, she told me she was devastated that she couldn't raise her son like I could. She said it was painful to have my brother and sister-in-law in the room discussing her son's future. Here's where I screwed up. I felt awful that Sarah felt trapped into giving up her baby. I never had to consider giving up my son. My parents literally just gave us all enough money / real estate, etc. that I could never work again and still raise my son with luxuries. So I asked her how much money she thought she would need in order to keep her son. She was confused by the question. I told her that her son was her first son and I would help her keep him if she actually wanted to. She seemed shocked and left the restaurant without saying much. 3 days ago, she told me she had done the math and she sent me a thorough spreadsheet, including medical care, rent, and food during her recovery, which she only allowed herself 3 weeks for, and very limited baby supplies. The list was very cheap and included a schedule for how she would pay me back. We met up and I told her I would give her everything she asked for, plus significantly more supplies and higher rent for a longer period of time. I also told her I would pay for vocational training and that she didn't have to pay me back. She was floored and accepted everything except for insisting on a schedule for repayment, which I don't plan on enforcing. She backed out of the adoption that night. Both my brother and sister-in-law are heartbroken and livid with both of us. She had to block them and I moved temporarily because they keep showing up to yell at me. I know I went out of my way to stop their adoption and I feel awful that I hurt them, but I couldn't watch it happen knowing all Sarah needed to keep her son was the small amount of money I could easily give her. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for deleting my cousin's precious wedding photos? I, 17 male, agreed to take wedding photos for my cousin Sarah's 26 female wedding. She wanted me to take photos of her getting ready, our grandmother putting a family heirloom necklace on her, the first look, the wedding, the reception, etc. There was also another photographer, a friend of the groom, who was taking photos of the groom and his side getting ready, and he was also taking photos at the wedding and reception. Since I wasn't a professional photographer by any means, I told her I would only charge her $50 for the entire day. And when I say the entire day, I mean it. From 8 a.m. until 10 p.m., I was taking her photos and basically being harassed by her bridesmaids, and my aunt. She was a full-on bridezilla the entire time. Not just to me, but basically everyone, including her husband. It was a long day to say the least. So after all of that, I went home, edited the photos, and copied them onto individual USB drives for people she may have wanted to give them to. I texted Sarah a couple days later to let her know they were ready and that I would happily meet up with her to exchange them for the $50. She never responded. For the next 3 weeks, I texted, called, got in touch with her mother, my aunt, and even stopped by her house to try and get the photos to her. She evaded every single attempt. 6 months passed since the wedding, and I was at the movies with my other cousin, 19 male, who was Sarah's younger brother, and a couple of our friends. He tells me, "By the way, Sarah was wondering when you were going to give her those photos. She said she would pay you the $10 if that's the only reason you're taking so long." I was livid. First, it was $50. Second, that was the deal from the start. I told my cousin this and said to tell Sarah if she wanted them, she needed to contact me within 2 days so we could meet up with the payment, or I was going to delete them. This might come as a shock considering the title of this, but she never contacted me. The 2 days passed, I deleted the photos and erased the USB drives. Less than a week went by before my aunt called me in a fit. I threatened my cousin into paying me when she didn't have the money. I told my aunt that she has had a little over 6 months to pull together $50, which she knew was the agreed upon amount, that she refused to respond to me no matter what I tried, and that it was too late now because the photos were gone. My aunt, uncle, and a few other relatives have been refusing to talk to me or my parents because I deleted precious photos that can never be taken again, all because of greed. Literal quote. My mom thinks I should apologize and I'm just being stubborn. However, my older brother thinks I held on to the photos longer than I should have. I should have deleted them after the first week of trying to get into contact with her and being dodged/ignored. So, am I the asshole for deleting my cousin's wedding photos? I didn't attend my son's wedding. I instead spent the evening with his ex-wife. Quick backstory. After graduating high school, my son moved 3 states away for college. At 19, he married a girl he met. I tried convincing him to wait because I personally felt he was too immature. They both dropped out and moved back here to his hometown. At 20, they had their first child, a beautiful little girl. 16 months later, my daughter-in-law gave birth to their second child, a little boy. After the first baby, my wife and I noticed our daughter-in-law wasn't happy. We both thought it was postpartum depression related. Just after the second arrived, my son and his wife separated. She would bring the kids over for a visit. It was then she began unloading on us. I know there's 2 sides to every story, but considering I know my son, I believed her. I sat my son down numerous times to speak with him regarding his marriage. He refused to take responsibility, blamed her for everything, even when I directly pointed out where he was the sole problem. They got into counseling, and for a year, things were okay on the surface. Our daughter-in-law filed for divorce. My son 3 days later was on Facebook announcing his new girlfriend. A month later, they were engaged. My son had forced his then-wife to become a permanent stay-at-home mother at the birth of their first child. She, of course, had no other family or friends here. She knew no one aside from us. She had nowhere to go with 2 small children. Unbeknownst to our son, my wife and I helped her financially and got her an apartment. Before the divorce was even finalized, we received a wedding invitation. I made it clear to my son I would not be attending and they would not have my blessing. His mother told him she would see to it that I would attend. I stayed consistent in my decision. I also asked him not to bring his fiancée around our house out of respect for the mother of his children. The wedding happened on February 11th. The night before, my wife gave me the final push. I did not attend. Our daughter also did not attend for the same reasons. My wife picked up our grandkids, got them dressed, and attended the wedding. My daughter and I decided to spend the evening with his ex. I couldn't imagine her sitting alone while her kids attended their father's wedding. She was taken aback that I didn't end up attending his wedding. We took her out to distract her mind. I just wanted her to know she'll always be considered family to us. My daughter also made a joke that they can drop the in-law status and just be sisters now. She was very tearfully grateful. I realized just how badly she needed our support, and specifically on that night. The next morning, my son called to tell me how much of a horrible father I am for not attending his wedding. A few days later, he caught wind that I spent the wedding evening with his ex. He said that was the ultimate form of betrayal, and further myself and his sister would have to earn a relationship with him on his terms only. Am I the asshole for not wanting to officially adopt my daughter? In high school, I had 2 best friends. Mark, would be 32, and May, 32 female. I, 30 male, got kicked out of the house when I turned 16. Mark's family took me in and became like my adopted parents. I'm 2 years younger. Mark and May started dating when they were juniors in high school. After they graduated, Mark joined the military. During his first leave, May became pregnant. Shortly after his return to service, Mark passed away. We were devastated. She at the time was staying with Mark's parents and I was still living there. I took her to all of her appointments, helped her through the pregnancy. They put Mark's name on the birth certificate. By this time, I had graduated early and was looking to go to local college. I became busy with school but helped anytime I could. 3 years later, I graduated, got a good job, and my own place. May moved in with me with her now 3-year-old daughter, Alice. Alice started calling me Dada. We tried to persuade her to not do that, but we failed. A year of us living together, I started having real feelings for May. I talked to Mark's parents, and they gave me the green light. Nothing happened between us up to this point. 2 years later, we married. 1 year after, she gave birth to our daughter, Jenny. Yesterday was Alice's 12th birthday. It was just me, May, Alice, Jenny, and Mark's parents. We have told her about Mark throughout the years, and she knows that he is really her dad. When Alice finished up opening the presents, she pulled a last one out and handed it to me. I opened it, and it was adoption papers. At some point, Alice told May that she wanted to be officially my daughter. I explained that she is my daughter and I love her with all my heart. I tried to explain that Mark is her birth father and she is both his and my daughter. With that, I gently explained that I don't think it was a good idea and I would have to think about it. She got upset and ran to her room. Mark's parents ended up leaving. May and I got into a fight. I said I don't want to erase Mark from our history. After some back and forth, she called me an asshole and walked into Alice's room. She wouldn't let me in to talk and locked me out of the room. This morning, she would not talk to me and Alice was still crying. I don't know what to do.